You gotta love fall time, eh? I was having a interesting conversation with a local fella about sheep. He's kind of getting going, and we were discussing the issue of buying in rams versus home rams, and I was telling him the one that I bought in. He's a fine looking guy, but when you look at him compared to these home rams, he is a month younger than him, and they were both born this spring. And so, I mean, you can just see the magnificent difference between these home rams. And then I bought this from George, but he and I have the same genetics. So, and I bought this brown one for one reason, and it was because I wanted more color, and that's not a good reason. But we're gonna see if he just is maturing slowly or what. But when you look at him stacked up. When you look at him stacked up to, sorry, he was butting my knee, so I had to give him a clank. When you look at him stacked up next to these home rams, these homebred rams, there's just something to be said for taking things designed perfectly in your environment. I guess that'd be like the definition of epigenetics is. These guys that were born and raised multi-generations now on my farm, and they're just built for it. But we have them out at a local farmer's. Her husband passed, I think, last year, and this was just like a holding lot for her, their cattle when they had them. And she asked if I might bring some sheep over, and I thought, well, perfect. Now I don't have to worry about the rams. And they got plenty of grass to eat here. Then we have the lonely dog over there. But there's so much truth in the fact that finding things in your environment, if you have to purchase one, get one from your home area. Don't drive across the country because they're just not going to be designed for your climate. And I just think that's coming out. Like, I know the guy I bought this from, he grass feeds everything. But I also looked at where he got his ram from, and I don't believe they do. And it just shows in his growth rate comparative to these homeboys right here. Like 125 is a beast. Yeah, it's just amazing. But you can definitely see they're starting to just develop a lot of testosterone. There's a lot of budding and jumping and pushing and fight. These boys are going to be ready to rock and roll in about a month and a half, and we're going to get them all bred up. Well, we're feeding a bale of hay. I'm taking a cue from a few other fellas and realize that I just need to hold the animals here for a moment. So we're giving them a bale of hay to eat for the next couple of days. I'm going to finish unrolling it. It's a good workout. I'm doing it by hand. I am glad we only rolled 4x5s and not something massive. But we just need to hold them here for a few days while I have other things going on. And I need to stop being so allergic to using hay in strategic situations. But sheep are starting to wool up, you can see. They're getting furry and heavy. I think we're going to be sitting right for winter. Isn't it something? I roll all this hay out, and they always go for the part I haven't unrolled. Isn't that a truly massive ewe? She's on her second year, had one lamb. Just a beast. She's a descendant of my oldest ewe's daughter, so that's a granddaughter. So first gen is right there, second gen is right here, and then that monster right there is third gen. And I just like the way that it's going. Nice. This is that black cow cross, that Angus cross that caught Doug's eye. The problem is she's too tame. I can't, she keeps walking in front of me while I'm unrolling, and she's too tame. She's not a, you want to jump up and see what's going on, huh? She's not scared of me, so I can't move her off. What a beautiful morning. It's nice to see the snow melted off. Well, I thought I'd take a minute and just kind of do a walk and talk, collect my thoughts on how this year's grazing has gone, and go through and look at the animals too, but just reflect on the year as we're shutting down for winter. First is we are shutting down for winter. As you can see, hay is unrolled, which is, I believe, the earliest I've ever stopped grazing, but that was pretty much driven in sum total by, going from one cow to, what do we got now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Do I have 10? Yeah, 10. It'd be like adding 50 or 60 more sheep right as the grass is slowing down and can't, it's not going to be maintaining its vitality and high growth like in the summer. So we're doing this for a couple different reasons. One is, boy, he's grazing in the danger zone. He's going to get dropped on. So one is that we, as Doug and I put a plan for next year together, we're going to be converting a fair portion of his farm out of row cropping into your mom's going to kick you, man. We're going to be converting a fair amount of his row cropping land into pasture next year. And so we at some point do have to make adjustments to be ready to put animals on that land. And so we kind of got together and said, well, I know we're going to overstock this farm this year, but let's just start putting stuff together. Let's set aside a little extra hay and then be ready to, churn and burn next year when we get into the growth season. And so the tentative plan for now is we got a few more cattle coming in. Doug and I were, I think I've said this before, very impressed with George Heller's quality of cattle up at his farm. We would have liked to buy some of those South Poles, but they're so hot right now. I'm just not willing to pay what they're worth. But we also like the British Whites that I believe he's holding for a friend. And so we reach out to him about buying some heifers, and we're going to try to put that Pharaoh bull on them and see what kind of a cross we get. Anyway, so we're going to pick up 3 heifers from him, and then we also visited a local guy who's got Angus Wagyu crosses, and he has some purebred, like real short and stout, actually much shorter than these red Angus we have, but some really nice looking purebred black Angus that are just my style, short, stout, and lean, kind of like this black girl here. And not the one with horns, but this big, look at her, she's got a tank on her, doesn't she? So that we're going to be adding 5 more and heading up towards 15 plus calves next year. And that's just to take advantage of the pasture we're putting in at Doug's place. And then we're going to cap the sheep flock off at the size that my farm can contain, which will end up being around, 90 to 100 ewes. And we're going to run them separately, which is quite different than I have been doing. I've been kind of running them all together for most of the year. And one is, so the reason behind that is pretty simple. One is this guy right here can't leave some of the more skittish cattle alone. And so that sucks. He does a great job with the sheep. He doesn't mess with them, but he doesn't mess with some of the cattle, but others he just likes to send for a run, and it's not compatible. And I'm not going to get rid of him. He's a great guard dog, so it is what it is. Okay. And then 2 is, even with just moving the sheep back and forth between different farms for grazing, is getting to be an all-day affair. You know, I don't have the biggest trailer there ever was. And when it takes, 4 trips, setting up, loading, unloading, it takes all day. It's too much. And so at this point, we're just going to pull the trigger and separate the different animal streams just for a workload position. So one of my other big takeaways this year has really been around stocking density and how to manage the ebb and flow of pasture. And I think I think I'm surprised by a couple things. One is how much this land will support given a few years of this methodology. And then 2, I need to do a better job setting aside some land and letting it go all the way out and keeping my rotation fresh, and then having that land available for, the dry times of the year, late July, early August for us. And the reason behind that is relatively simple. This year I got kind of caught in a weird spot in a rotation, and I had half my farm kind of going dormant. And so I let a neighbor who needed hay, because his pastures weren't doing much. I let him cut some hay. He actually got a surprising amount off of the couple fields that he cut. And what it did though is kind of put a twist in my rotation. It was a real mistake. Not because I wanted to help him, but because when I came back, my rotation wasn't right to take advantage of the fall flush, right? We started getting rain, but the grass was so short from hay cutting that it just took a minute to come back around, and it put me behind the 8 ball. I mean, not that bad. Even with this overstock, we got to November, but it put me behind the 8 ball in the sense that I couldn't get one more rotation in. I went out and, before I put these guys up for the winter, I went out and kind of walked my fields, and there's just too much grass that's still squared off or, nipped down. I just need to catch my rotations more appropriately and really commit to a proper grazing rotation. And I think that'll be made easier, forgive me, by not moving animals back and forth, but keeping animals stocked on each farm separately. So, other than that, I have a cow up there that we bought that's being a little bit of trouble. I don't know if you can see her, but she's being quite troublesome. So she's just unwilling to learn the hot wire. And so we're already Doug and I are already into making culling decisions on this cow that we just bought. They had hot wire, but they were also using woven wire at this farm that we bought it from. And the other one right there learned it no problem. So I do not know what her problem is. And she's such a nice looking animal. I'm sorry if you can't see her, but she's such a nice looking animal, but she just won't play ball with me. She keeps knocking down my electric fence. It was twisted on her last night, and she was crying. I had to go out there and turn it off and untangle her while she's kicking around. And, we're going to give her a little more time, but oh man, it sucks to cull cattle versus sheep. I had a fence jumper this year, and you know what? She's in the freezer. She's an old ewe who just decided to go bananas, and now she's in the freezer for dog food. I just don't, something about, maybe it's because sheep multiply, but I'm looking at this culling decision for this cow that's up there, and I just am reluctant, which is odd. But anyway, we got to stay tight on our program, even for cattle. I know we want to grow, but we simply can't allow that to dictate our choices about choosing the right stock. We got to maintain a 20 or 30 or 50-year vision on what we're putting in the herd. And for the most part, a lot of these cows are going to be here for a few years, and then we're going to really drill down to one species. And boy, she has a bad attitude. She's not even eating. She's just knocking. She's just knocking other animals off the feed. But anyway, that sucks. But we're gonna give her a couple more chances. But she's just, I don't know if she's brain dead or what. I don't know. It's interesting. I'm gonna be in a position to start culling cattle, and it feels bad for some reason. Whereas I am aggressive with culling sheep because I want all my sheep to look like this one. Perfect. Low slung, heavy, bulletproof. I don't want it to look like this one that I bought. I mean, this is a May lamb. She should be a lot bigger than that. Not so scruffy. She's on the cull list. I don't even think she'll breed. Yeah, she's on the cull list, I think. And anyway, I've been talking for too long. I'm going to have to chop this up, I suppose. But anyhow, so we're going to pick up some British whites. We're going to pick up some Black Angus and round out the cattle herd for next year. And we'll just see how it plays out.